السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything that He has given us, for all of the blessings that we can see and all of the blessings that we cannot see. There are many aspects of our life where we lose something and then later on in life you may gain it back, or that there's a possibility that exists for you to gain it back. Whether it's job, whether it's wealth, whether it's a car or a house. These are things that you may lose and it's possible for you to obtain it back. However, there's one thing where it doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are, what color you are, you will never ever be able to obtain it back. And that is what the Quran refers to as al-Asr, as time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Surah, which is called al-Asr, that innal insāna lafī khusr, that every single individual is in loss, meaning they take a breath, that's one less breath. It's like a melting piece of ice. It just continuously keeps on melting. That's what time is. And we always hear about the questions that we will be asked in the grave of Mar Rabbuk Ma Dinuk, and who will be your prophet, who is your Lord, and what is your religion. We always hear these questions. But what about the questions on the Day of Judgment? The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in different narrations the questions that you will have and all of us will receive on that day. That لا تزول قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن أربع. That the feet will not move, you'll not be able to take any steps until you'll be asked about these four questions. Four questions. Number one is عن عمره فيما أفناه. You're going to be asked about your life and how you spent that life, the entirety of that life. Okay, the blessing of life. Number two, عن علمه ماذا عمل فيه. You're going to be asked about your knowledge. And number one, as we know, as Muslims, we need to go out and seek knowledge. But then after seeking knowledge, ماذا عمل فيه. How did you apply it? Or was the application at all? Was the application on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, in Ramadan? Where was the application and when was that application? That's the second question. Third question, وَعَنْ مَالِهِ مِنْ أَيْنَ اكْتَسَبَ وَفِيمَا أَنْفَقَ. The wealth that we know as Muslims we have to achieve to live a life and to be able to sustain a life and to support our family. So where did you obtain that wealth? What type of income did you have? Did you have a halal income or not? And when you receive that check from work, that deposit from work, where did you spend it? وَفِيمَا أَنْفَقَ. So it's not enough to just say that, oh, alhamdulillah, I got it from a halal means. That wealth, alhamdulillah, was, I worked hard and I'm just going to spend it wherever I need to spend it because alhamdulillah, I use my time and my energy. Time and energy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you that belongs to Allah. Your body, that belongs to Allah. Your time, everything that you have belongs to Allah. You have complete dependence upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara ila Allah. Antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing all people. That all of you are complete dependence upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you want to pay attention to the attributes that He uses for Himself in each of these ayat. Wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely independent of you all. He is completely independent. You are dependent and He is completely independent. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is who we are. So that's why we will be asked about where did we earn our income and how did we spend that income. Okay, where do we spend that wealth? And then number 4, وَعَنْ جِسْمِهِ فِي مَا أَبْلَى. Again, another ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, this jism, this body. Okay, what did you do with this jism? How did you use it? How did you take care of it, or how did you not take care of it? We'll be asked about that as well. These will be the questions that all of us will receive on the Day of Judgment. Another narration mentions about the youth. MashaAllah, there's many youth here. So you'll be asked, how did you spend that youthful time where you had all this unlimited amount of energy without the sugars and everything else? You already have enough energy. They don't need any more of the sugars to give them more energy. They already have enough, and their teachers can probably be a witness, a shahid for that. So these will be the 4 questions. Number 1 is that you'll be asked about your life, how you spent it. Number 2, knowledge. Did you obtain knowledge? And did you apply that knowledge? Number 3, you'll be asked about your wealth. Where did you obtain it from? And how did you spend it? What did you spend it on? And then number 4, your jism, your body. You'll be asked about how did you take care of it? Now, how did you use it? Was it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or was it for your own personal motives and desires? So this relates to the surah that we recited in the beginning of Surah al-Asr. A Sahabi by the name of Ubaidullah ibn Hisn, he reported that whenever 2 Sahaba would meet, they would meet and they would discuss, and when they would leave, before leaving their gathering, they would recite Surah al-Asr to each other. They would recite Surah al-Asr to each other. Okay. Surah al-Asr, very short. Not even a few lines. So they would recite Surah al-Asr as a reminder for each other. Now, so why would they do that? That's the question. What's the reasoning behind that? Imam Shafi'i, he explains the reasoning for this. That he said that if people were to think about Surah al-Asr carefully, then it would be sufficient enough for them to have guidance, to have hidayah. Just Surah al-Asr. That's sufficient enough for them to have hidayah. Very concise but comprehensive surah. Okay. And in those 3 verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outlines the complete way of life based on an Islamic worldview. That's what He does in Surah al-Asr. talking about life and talking about time and the importance of time. That's built into our deen. That's built into our religion. That's the beauty of having our 5 salawat spread out throughout the day. We can schedule things around these 5 salawat. Otherwise, we know ourselves. I'll do it later. I'll do it later when I have some time. That's never going to happen. Until you schedule it within your day, it's not happening. We know that. You know that. Ali radiallahu anh, he said in a poem, he said, حَيَاتُكَ أَنْفَاسٌ تُعَدُّ فَكُلَّمَا مَضَى نَفَسٌ أَنْقَصْتَ بِهِ جُزْءًا. That your life comprises of a few breaths that can be counted. Your life comprises of a few breaths that you can count. When one breath passes, a part of your life has diminished. When one breath passes, a part of your life has diminished. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given all of us this invaluable capital of life and time, so that we invest it in a profitable business. He says, the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, كُلُّ النَّاسِ يَغْدُو فَبَاعِعٌ نَفْسَهُ فَمُعْتِقُهَا أَوْ مُوبِقُهَا. Prophet ﷺ said that when an individual wakes up in the morning, he invests his nafs, he invests his soul and his time in a business enterprise. And some of the individuals who invest, they free or save the capital from having any loss, and others, they just completely destroy that capital. Completely destroy it. مُوبِقُهَا أو مُعْتِقُهَا. Save it or destroy it. Now, there's only one way to gain with that capital. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah al-ʿAsr. He says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. That every individual is in loss, except if you meet these criteria. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. The criteria for any of your deeds to be accepted and to hold any weight in the next life is to have the prerequisite of Iman. You're not going to get anywhere in the next life without Iman. It's very, very simple. Iman is a prerequisite for everything. So you might have, non-Muslim friends or relatives, but they might be great people, and nobody's doubting that. But as far as their amal holding weight, it's going to be on standby until they accept Islam. It's going to be on standby until they accept Islam. So the first 2 points that he mentions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. The first 2 points are dealing with the one's individual's personal rectification and personal spiritual upliftment. Okay, and the other 2, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, that is dealing with other people's reformation and guidance. Tawasaw and tawasaw, dealing with others. So these 2 points, are if we look at them individually, the tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr, then if we translate it, yes, it means advising towards the truth and encouraging people to have patience and fortitude. Yes. Okay. But what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? When we're saying tawasaw bil haqq, advising people towards the truth, one way to understand that is amr bil ma'ruf, is to encourage people to do good deeds. Encouraging others, relatives, those that you are dependents, encouraging them to do good deeds. Friends, relatives, anybody. And then وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, would be referring to وَالنَّهْيِ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, that forbidding and discouraging individuals from committing sin and being far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is, a kind of in a nutshell what the surah would be referring to. Okay, this surah lays down, and I'll end with this inshallah, lays down the important principle of hidayah for Muslims and for themselves, number one, and if you're a da'i and calling others to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But keeping the Islam and you practicing Islam by yourself, individually at the home, that's not sufficient enough. That's not enough. As the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. You all have some aspect of individuals who depend on you. That you all are shepherds and you have some flock. And you will be asked about them. You'll be asked, did you do tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bil sabr? Did you do that? Did you encourage them to do good deeds? Did you stop them from doing bad deeds? That's your responsibility as being the head of the household, or being the mother, or being the father, or being the CEO of a company, or being the president, or being the imam. That's their responsibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon them. So it's not sufficient enough for us to just safeguard our iman and say, alhamdulillah, I pray my salah, I do my adhkar, I give some charity, I do all of these things, alhamdulillah, that's good, that's great. Yeah, but you're going to be asked about a little bit more than that. Not just yourself. Not just yourself. You're going to be asked about your dependents as well, about your flock. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to safeguard our iman, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to safeguard the iman of our flock as well. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.